Hello out there, shopkeepers and do-it-yourselfers. Today we're working on a 2007 E450. It's a Class C motorhome and it was making a lot of noise. Coming from the driveshaft area, and I don't know if the guy ran with the parking brake on. These have a parking brake. They call it a driveshaft parking brake. You don't have the parking brake that's inside of the top hat on the brake drum, on the rear brakes. You have this, bolts up to the back of the transmission in place of a tail housing. This goes into the output shaft of the transmission and just bolts up. It's a self-sealed unit called a bastard unit, and it only holds like 5 ounces of oil, and near as I can tell, it's transmission fluid. There's the fill hole, and that's the vent, and it's very small, and your drive shaft bolts up to the back of the drum, and your parking brake cable goes in here and it pulls on this fork arm, and your brake shoe is in this drum. Obviously, well, there's a front bearing and a rear bearing, and as you can see, this bearing is pretty well toast. It's missing at least one roller, and when I took it off, this nut, and then there's a spacer in there, just fell off, and so it had reversed itself. I'm not sure what rotation that is, but anyway, it spun that nut off. I don't know if somebody else had this off. This is an out-of-state guy, but we got a new one, and we put about 5 ounces of oil in there and did the right thing and got some new oil to put in it, and we're going to slide this underneath there and get it installed. Obviously, that's the tail shaft of the transmission, and we got one dowel plug, and this bolt right here is kind of hard to get out because the transmission mounts in the way. So what I did to remedy the problem was I took a die grinder and cut a split in the end of that bolt, so that when I get it up in there, I can take a small screwdriver and go up in that hole and thread this bolt with the screwdriver to bring it to almost snug, and then I can get a wrench on the head of it and be able to tighten it up. Now, since you can't get a screwdriver in there to drive that, can't let a good idea go to waste, so I got one of those, put it in a socket. I got a little adapter on there, reach in there. Of course, you want to spin it backwards because you're on the opposite side of the bolt. I had to slide my brake hub up in there a little further. We get that almost all the way in, then we can just get our wrench on there. But anyway, that's how that's done. See the bolts coming right out there to the end. Now get all 6 bolts in and work your way around, getting them snugged up. Yeah, like that. Now we'll bring the parking brake cable around and get that out. There's little plastic deals in there. You kind of got to squeeze together to get it to release. But we've got to pull this spring down so we can get the cable to slip through the slot and drop that into the seat up in there. I found you hook that little ring right there on that top edge and push over against it with your palm, and then pull down on the spring, and you can get it to separate and get the cable to slide in there. And there's no parts that go in there that holds it, it's just spring tension. And then bring this over, and you got a clevis pin that goes in there and a cotter pin. Now that is secure, and the brake assembly is fully mounted. There's no adjustment. And like I say, there's only about 5 ounces of oil. Dexron or Mercon silicone, or not silicone, synthetic. Put that in there, and make sure that your vent is at the top. In fact, it's probably spaced the bolts where you couldn't put it upside down. If you could, and it was on the bottom, it would be a vent, it would be a drain, and you wouldn't like that. Anyway, you got that's where your transmission or your drive shaft front flange bolts to, and you had to take it out to get to it. And we took it out because we had to replace this carrier bearing anyway. So we'll get that put back together and bolt it back on up there. That takes 4. They're I don't know what the metric size is, but they're like a 3/8 bolt, but it takes a 12 millimeter 12-point socket to get those 4 bolts off, and they go in there German torque specs, just like these 4 bolts that goes around this housing. Those are German torque specs too, you know, good and tight. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you. ZF, I don't know what it stands for, but they are the manufacturers of this product for Ford, and they are no longer available at Ford. They're discontinued, go figure. And you can get these online, and I found them anywhere from $400 all the way up to $1,000. Happy shopping, and don't be driving off with the parking brake on your Ford E450 motorhomes. I don't know if that's what happened on this, but probably did. But be sure and check these. There's the fill plug right there, just above the parking brake cable, right here. That's a 17 or an 18 millimeter, I don't remember. But just like you're filling up your differentials, fill it up till it runs out the fill hole, and you're full. Like I say, don't take but about 5 ounces. Thanks for watching, guys. Share, like, and subscribe, and comment if you will.